already here. Hi, everyone. Especially Joe Singleton, who's already commented on the stream. I'm delighted to have Graham Smith and also John Ryder here tonight. Same person, two names. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your books?
Yeah, certainly. My name is Graham Smith, although I'm currently writing under the pseudonym John Ryder. I have 3 books out in my Grant Fletcher series: First Shot, Final Second, and Third Kill. So Third Kill was released yesterday, and it's Fletcher's latest adventure. It's his most explosive to date, and it sees him in Las Vegas, where he's hunting a deadly assassin known as the Mantis. So that's there. Also want to give a couple of little heads up to the UK CBC members. Final Second is currently only 99 pence on Kindle. It's on a special promo at the moment. I'm never sure how long these things last. So if anyone enjoys what I'm saying tonight, feels urged to buy any of my books, that's only 99 pence, which is less than a cup of coffee. Couldn't even get half a beer for that. So there you go. I'm running a couple of competitions tonight. Funniest question will get a copy of Third Kill. The best question, the one that makes me work the hardest to get a good answer, will get a copy of all 3 books. And as a little incentive to those who may be considering buying Third Kill, there is a friend of mine who is someone who features in this book, except because I do often name characters based on their physical attributes, I haven't used my friend's real name. I'm not going to say whether it's a man or a woman, but after this chat and interview with Caroline, I'm going to put a little post up in UK CBC, and the first person who can reads the book and names both the friend of mine and the character name that I've given them, because it's not a real name, it's a description name. First person to name both of those things correctly will be added as a character into my 5th book as John Ryder. That is the book I'm currently writing. All bets are off as to whether you're going to be a lovely character, whether you're going to be a victim, whether you're going to be the evil Machiavellian villain. But that's a chance for you, one of you UK CBC members, to get your name immortalized in print forever. So that's my giveaways for tonight. So hit us both up with some good questions, folks, and hopefully I'll be entertaining for you.
Well, we've already got Joe, Samantha, and Lucy here watching.
Yeah.
And Lucy said that sounds like a challenge.
Yeah.
I know she's reading the current one, so she might already have an idea. When you said you name sort of characters after the physical attributes, what do you mean? Can you give us some examples?
Yeah. Character in Final Second, I described him as being 6.5 feet of gangle. Now, for those who don't know, somebody who's gangly is tall and thin with awkward elbows and so on. And after describing him like that, I continued just with the name Gango. Whenever I wanted to reference that character, his name, according to Fletcher's thought processes, was Gango. You know, when you don't know someone's name, you think, oh, it's the guy in the white shirt or whatever. But rather than keep saying that, I tend to have Fletcher name them, you know, christen them with his own titles, his own names based on their physical description. And that's what I've done with a friend in Third Kill. So, and the friend is definitely a member of UKCBC as well. So.
Excellent. 6.5 feet of gangle sounds a lot like my husband.
But don't tell him I said that.
No, I'm not going to. I won't tell him I said it either. Sam says, great giveaway, Graham. Thank you.
Yeah.
Joe's stolen my question on the stream that I was going to ask you. He said, how did you come up with the name of John Ryder, and why did you use that instead of your real name?
Well, previously to this series, I had a different series out with Bookouture. It featured DC Beth Young, a 20-something female detective working as a copper in Cumbria. Now, there's quite a leap from that to an ex-Royal Marine running around America, who's quite comfortable killing people. And they looked for a wee bit of dissociation between the two different subgenres of the crime genre. And thereby, we worked together, myself and my editor, and we argued backwards and forwards, and I kept losing. So she essentially came up with the name John Ryder. You know, I'm not precious about the name on the cover. I know I wrote the book. You know, I'm the one that's done the work. I'm the one that's publicizing it. It was a marketing ploy so as not to have two different, strongly different genres published by the same person. A lot of authors, if they write, like horror, they'll maybe change their name or drop two initials when they write crime or another genre. I mean, J.K. Rowling became Robert Galbraith for the Cormoran Strike series. You know, Steve Mosby's Alex North. I could go on and on and on with authors who I know use pseudonyms at certain times. You know, so it is a fairly common thing in the publishing industry that if you're branching out in a different way, you change your name so as not to confuse anybody who might be caught out by that. But you don't make a secret of it as well, so that if your fans do want to come across to the new series, they can.
Yeah, no, that's it. It sounds like a good plan. Joe says after the post earlier, how many husbands do you have, Caroline? Just the one, Joe. Just the one. But he's a 6'6" massive geek. So the handful on his own. Lucy says now that book 3 is out, do you know how many books you're planning for the Fletcher series?
I don't know exactly, but I'm very, very lucky in that I'd managed to persuade my editor at Bookouture to let me release a standalone. Everything I've written to date, going right back to my Harry Evans series, Jake Boulder, Beth Young, even Grant Fletcher, they've all been series novels. There's been something of a series arc in there with them. And I would never say I got bored, but I'm always looking for new challenges. As a writer, I like to push myself. I like to make myself work hard. I like to give myself problems to solve. It keeps it interesting for me. I feel it helps me grow as a writer. So because of this, I wanted to do a standalone where you have to tie everything up. You have to leave no loose ends, no continuing threads. So I persuaded her. We worked together with some of the ideas that we bandied backwards and forwards. And that book, whose title I'm not allowed to say, can't give you too many details about it. In fact, it was so secret at one point, even I didn't know what I was doing. But that book will be out in July, and it starts off with a private investigator come fixer who has 24 hours to find someone in witness protection. That's all I can really say about that. Otherwise, I'll get the waggy finger pointed my way.
Brilliant. Joe's got a really good one for you. Says, what's your funniest or scariest 1-star review?
Oh, there have been so many. I'll be honest, I don't tend to focus on the 1 stars too dramatically. But there was one, I think it was for one of my Jake Boulder books, who complained about UK English terms in an American set novel, despite me clearly stating that the character was Scottish by origin. You know, he'd spent the first 15 years of his life in there. So he complained about everything, and particularly the, spelling and grammar. Yet their review was laden with spelling and grammar mistakes. So obviously not a case of do as I say, do as I say, not as I do.
Lucy says she likes the sound of the standalone. Make sure you tell us about it as soon as you can.
Yep, I will do. When the cover reveal and everything's done, I'll make sure and drop the info and the description and everything in. I loved writing that novel. As much as I've loved writing all of them, us authors are a weird breed. We never know whether our favourite novel is the first one we ever wrote because it was our first baby, or whether it's the one that we've just finished, or it's the one that's brewing in here and we haven't written a single word down. There's all these different conflicting ideas, and your favourite novel can change 3 times in an hour. If you get a eureka moment, oh, I really want to write that. Oh, that's a great idea. So it does chop and change for us a lot.
Sam wants to know, was it difficult changing from one series and starting another?
No, I've certainly found it invigorating. One of the problems that a lot of authors bitch about, and it's a first world problem, every one of us will say the same. We've got more ideas than we have time to write them. So, it's when you want to branch out in a slightly different direction and you've got a new idea and it won't work for an existing set of characters or an existing location, then it's fantastic to start afresh, build a new world, build new relationships, bring in some of the ideas that you thought of after a book was published and wished you'd put into it. It's a blank canvas again, so you can start afresh. But by the same token, the old characters from previous series do keep calling out to you. You want to go back. So in some respects, it's almost like visiting family or seeing them at a wedding or a funeral when you haven't seen them for a number of years and you have a right good catch up. So there's that. And I suppose I didn't really answer Lucy's question better properly earlier about how many books are going to be in the Grant Fletcher series. That very much depends on the public, the readers. If the series sells well, then it will be deemed viable and my publisher will want more. If it's not, then they won't. They are a business. Publishing is an industry. It is a commercial thing for them. They're looking to make money out of publishing. Bookouture with their pricing strategies and everything are not one of these publishers that you think, oh my God, they're ripping readers off or anything like that. They're very considerate about their pricing. Their business model is aimed at making books accessible for digital readers, which is brilliant. But they are an industry. They're all incredibly professional people there. So if the book reaches a certain level of sales and it garners the right kind of interest and so on, and fingers crossed, they will ask me to write some more. But for the moment, Fletcher's having a little hiatus, which, if anyone reads Third Kill, they will understand why. As well, the poor man needs a break.
So why the States, and are the books based in places that you've travelled there, or is the research all kind of Google Maps?
The research is Google Maps, Google Street View especially. You know, if you want to describe an area, you do the Google Maps thing, but then you drop in and you can have a look around the streets and so on. You can Google just about anything these days, but I've seen me with Final Second. It was set in Wisconsin, not a place I've been. I've never actually travelled across the Atlantic. So Wisconsin, I wanted to find out some dishes that were kind of local to the area. Google was a great help, but to make sure I got it authentic, I was actually reading restaurant menus that were put up online and looking for common dishes, ones that featured a lot, you know, to find dishes that were generic to the area or local to the area where I was setting the story. As you know, so there's a lot like that. Again, with the stories that I'm telling, I try and suit the location to the stories. With First Shot, I wanted somewhere woods. I wanted the backwoods. I wanted properly closed off, somewhere that was credible as being an isolated community. For Final Second, I wanted farmlands. Farmlands played a big part in the story, and I'd already said that Quadrado was from Wisconsin. So then, because it involved her best friend as the first victim, it was easy to take that story back to Wisconsin and use it there. After doing 2 rural settings, I wanted to go to a city. You know, LA, New York, Miami, and so on. They've been done a lot, but for the story I had in mind, Vegas was perfect for Third Kill. Absolutely perfect. It let me have the proper setup. It let me have an atmosphere that so many people are familiar with. I mean, I've never been to Vegas, but I have so many TV images, so many movies I've seen, you know, like the casino and everything. You can easily get a flavour of Vegas. And just talking about casinos, I can picture them now in my head, in my mind. You know, people playing cards and everything. So, yeah, I did tap into a genetic memory there, I suppose.
Well, I suppose they're not that different, are they? You know, casinos everywhere are going to be fairly similar.
Yeah.
I would have thought. I'm just looking at the other questions. We've got loads that we still haven't gone through. Joe says, I'm sure you must have a number of experts, friends that you refer to for research. If it was possible, what type of expert would you like to have in your arsenal?
Oh,
that's a good one.
That is a good one. I mean, I know a senior mortician. I know, well, I have a cousin that's ex-army, worked in the REME fixing guns and everything, so I've got those covered. I know an ex-fire investigator, I know police, I know lawyers, I know CSI people. I suppose I know digital experts. I don't know. That's a very good question, that, Joe, because it's so hard for us authors. Once you kind of get your core team round about you, you're kind of set. But I'm sure that halfway through the book I'm writing right now, I will end up with a head scratch and won't have to think, right, okay, who do I know who can answer this or who can point me in the right direction of someone? There are so many. Touch wood, I am lucky so far to have never been unable to have the right person to ask. You know, so I am very lucky in that a wide circle of friends and the crime writing community. If you need anything, just throw a shout out, and somebody knows someone or who can pass these things on. So I am very lucky that way.
We've got a good file of experts in the group as well, like all random people who've got like specialties you can ask if there's a problem.
Yeah. Oh, the internet's a wonderful connector that way. It really is. And, you know, I mean, people, especially in UK CBC, they're all helpful, they're all friendly, they're approachable. And us authors like to think we are as well, you know, so it all works out.
Generally are.
Yeah.
Joe says, why crime, and have you considered writing in any other genres?
No. Crime is my passion. Sorry, in case there's any police watching. Crime fiction is my passion. I have been a fan since I was first handed the 7th Famous Five book. I read the entire series, Secret Seven, come up through the Hardy Boys into some gentler adult fiction, such as Dick Francis and so on, and then got into the proper mainstream adult fiction. I have read crime and conspiracy thrillers and general crime action thrillers, war thrillers for 40 plus years now. That is where my passion lies. That is where my knowledge lies. I could not, for the life of me, write a romance book or a horror, though I do understand some horror elements, but I couldn't write sci-fi or romance or anything because I don't read them. I don't watch those kind of movies. You know, I don't know what's expected of the genre, and I would get it all horribly wrong. One thing I would say, though, as a kind of caveat to that, is that crime fiction as a genre encompasses many others. You know, quite often there is something of a love interest for the lead detective that, you know, even James Bond got married at one point. You know, and he's the ultimate bad boy bachelor, but he got married on Her Majesty's Secret Service, I think it was. So there are things, books like Silence of the Lambs uses a lot of horror tropes, you know, like when Clarice is going to meet Lecter the first time, she's going down into the basement, down into the bowels of the earth. You know, that's all very horror setups and so on. You know, so there's a lot there. There's a lot of things that are all encompassing about the crime fiction genre. So yeah, but no, I stick firmly to crime, modern day crime set in the here and now, because if I tried to write a crime novel set in the 50s or anything, I would get more wrong than right. And I don't want to do that. I think my readers deserve me giving my very best. My best is doing the modern.
So on your reading lots of crime and things, who are your favourite go-to crime authors?
There are certain authors who will always jump up my reading. Tom Kane, Matt Hilton, Mike Craven, M.W. Craven, A.A. Dand, Craig Russell, who actually, as a pub day today, shout out to him and his new book, Hyde, which is excellent. I was lucky to get an arc of that. Like says Zoe Sharp with a Charlie Fox series. Stuart McBride is a favourite. There are so many. I've read Lee Child, I've read Alistair MacLean, Dick Francis, Clive Cussler, Scott Mariani, Jack Curley, Mark Billingham, Peter James. I could go on and I could fill the rest of this interview with naming the books and the authors that I've read. You know, there are so many fantastic books out there. personally, I tend to read across the genres of writing, police procedurals, crime, action, thrillers. But occasionally I will step back to something historical and so on, such as Paul Doherty's series set in ancient Egypt, which was actually murder mystery. But very good because it had none of the modern forensics involved. It was all very deductive, along the lines of Miss Marple and so on. So, yeah, good question.
Cool. There was one before we went live that I was just looking for. Frances Turton, she says she loves your books. What was the inspiration for the Grant Fletcher ones?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Frances. Very nice of you to say that. Inspiration for the Fletcher novels was we've been doing the Beth Young series, and as much fun as it was to write the beautiful settings of the Lake District and have that series receive quite a lot of acclaim from readers, I had the urge again to get to America, look at some bigger style plots. A lot of the plots that are in the Fletcher series couldn't really be done credibly in the UK. You need the US for that kind of plot, simply because of the guns involved. That you need there to be an hour's drive between towns rather than 5 minutes, as we so often have here in the UK. UK is too small, too populated for its land mass for a lot of those kind of stories to work. So I set off for America on my laptop, and I created somebody who could get the job done, but was more than just a killing machine. You know, Fletcher does have his morals. He will do what it takes to get the job done, but he doesn't kill wantonly, doesn't kill needlessly. You know, quite happy to take a life to save a life, but if he can avoid taking the life and still save the life, that would always be his preferred method. So,
fair enough. I'm just going back to make sure, because we keep getting so many questions and I'm missing ones. So I'm just gonna make sure I've asked you all of them. So we've got Joe.
Well, if we miss any on here, Caroline, I will be in the group later, and I will answer them with my fingers, not my tongue.
Hopefully we won't. Joe says, in regards to your writing style, do you start at chapter 1 and work through to the end, or do you write chapters and then sew them all together?
No, I'm quite anal that way. I start at chapter 1 and I keep going chronologically. Even to the point, if I know there's major mistakes in the bit I've already written, and the mistakes are purely because I've got so far through and thought, oh, I'll maybe take this in a slightly different direction and this works better. And Graham isn't a very good name for that character. Let's call him John instead. Then I will just move ahead. The character will be called John, and I will go back and fix the mistakes afterwards. Keep myself moving forward all the time on that one. You know, straight through, start to finish. When it's finished, I give myself a day or two. Then I read the whole novel with an A4 pad sat beside me, and I make notes of the big mistakes that I need to fix. Then I fix them. Then I polish the whole novel. Goes to beta readers, get their feedback, work on that, give the whole novel another polish, and then my editor gets it. So it goes through quite a lot of processes, from typing the word chapter 1 until it goes to the person who makes the big decisions on it.
There's another really good question here from Sam. She says, how do you know which idea is going to go somewhere and have enough behind it to provide enough material for an entire novel?
That is a very good question. And it's a combination of factors. The first thing I do when I get an idea that I think is strong enough, is I examine it from every angle. You know, above, below, I think, right, okay, that's a really great plot. Which characters will it suit? Do I need to almost use it as a standalone? This is why I so badly wanted to do the standalones. It's because I had ideas that wouldn't fit for the characters that I was already using. So we did that. On the back of that, it's about examining the idea from every angle. And I don't mean picking it up and looking at it this way and that way. I mean, how's it going to work for certain? Which characters are we going to have in it? What are the twists and so on kind of using it? How will the story progress? Is it credible? How much research do I need to do? Am I going to have to go out and physically view places, or would I be able to learn? What do I know that I don't know about the ideas involved in the story? Can I find them out? Can I find out enough to make my telling of that part of the story credible? So I'll look at it that way for as long as it takes until I'm comfortable that I can answer all those questions. And then I will speak to 2 or 3 good friends who are writers as well. And with them, I'll chat over the idea and I'll let them throw their questions at me to test all the things I've already thought, to find the chinks in the idea's armour. That's generally how I would approach anything that way. And then when all that's done, I'll write the idea down, or enough of the bones of it, and then I'll either present that idea to my agent or editor, and if they like it, they'll have a go at trying to press me into finding its faults. And if they like it, it's write the outline, get the outline tweaked into shape, and then write the novel. So it can be quite a lengthy process from to actually starting the book. And sometimes it can be just a case of, right, oh, what a great idea. Bang! I hit the keyboard and I go and I just see where the idea takes me. You know, but yeah, you were right. It is a very good question. Just a shame about the answer, really.
No, it's a good answer as well. I know Sam's probably asking because she's starting to do a lot more writing.
Yeah.
So she might be like seeking out advice.
Yep, that's fine. She won't be the only beginning writer in the group.
Jo, she's published our criminal shorts anthology. Joe Singleton says he loves Booker Shaw. Just randomly loves Booker Shaw. Sam says, do you have an interest in true crime too, or is your heart with crime fiction?
My heart is with crime fiction. I've never been one for reading about past serial killers, past crimes. It doesn't work for me. I want to live in the realms of fantasy. I want to know the bad guy's going to get caught or killed by James Bond or Miss Marple or whoever. I need to have that resolution at the end. And for all it can be quite brutal at times, you know it's not real. I don't want to read about some poor person's final days and what the criminal did to them. That should be private. That should be for the family, in my opinion. You know, a lot of people who do this and enjoy it, that's perfectly fine. But for me, I keep away from that. It doesn't work for me. But yeah, good question.
She also says, are there any scenes you've had to change after research?
There's a few bits and pieces where researchers taught me that I'm wrong. A lot of things where I've looked up and found out I'm wrong, but not a massive amount of scenes, because if I don't know something, I will go and learn it there and then. You know, I won't keep writing and in the belief that I've got it right. If I'm unsure of a fact, I will research it. Having said that, it can really, really knock your daily word count, because when I was writing The Kindred Killer, no, sorry, Watching the Bodies, I was researching the Japanese seppuku, which is better known as harikari. And it was fascinating. I was reading that for an hour and a half, whereas 10 minutes research had got me what I needed to know. But I just kept reading about all the different rituals and so on that could be involved, everything. You know, and yes, I suppose that was me reading true crime. I'll say it before anyone else points it out in the comments. Guilty as charged, but yeah.
Lucy wants to know, is there one book that you've read that you wish you'd written?
Yeah, that's probably quite a lot. I mean, just the Da Vinci Code or any of the Harry Potters for financially obvious reasons. On an aesthetic level, on a technical level, on a skill level, the book I probably most wish I'd written would be The Devil Aspect. That was written by Craig Russell, and it's utterly beautiful. Utterly, utterly beautifully written. Fantastic story. More horror than I would have thought was good for my taste, I've got to admit. But absolutely brilliant, brilliant book on every level. You know, I can't say enough about it.
There's another one from Sam. After being inspired by books or authors since you were younger, would you write something for a younger audience?
No, I don't think that's me. I would class that as a skill set that I don't possess. I would probably start off all very nice and twee and a little bit Famous Five. Then a gun would come out and there'd be a knife fight and a car chase. Yeah, it wouldn't work. I'd get nothing. The kids would love it, but the parents would do nothing but complain.
Yeah, I was going to say kids would probably think that was amazing.
Yeah.
Have you ever been tempted, because you run a wedding venue and things, don't you?
I do.
To incorporate any of that knowledge into a book?
Not really, because I think of them as separate parts of who I am. The wedding venue, it's a wonderful job. It's so lucky to see so many people having a wonderful time and being so happy. That is a privilege, you know, to be involved in that. But do I want to sully what I do at work with my crime writing tendencies, involve the two and, you know, have a mash up that way? I'm not sure. There's also, you know, the age-old thing is you leave your problems at home when you go to work. You leave work at work when you go home. You know, so I do try and separate the two sides of my life that way as much as I can. Not saying it'll never happen, you know. Maybe one day when I leave the hotel, I would want to go back down that route, possibly reliving some memories, but try and keep the two things separate as much as I can.
I'm smiling at you because I'm a teacher. We have no concept of you leave work at work and home at the two kind of mesh. Sam, oh no, I'm going to ask you Joe's question because it's really good. Joe says, are there any crime or scenarios that you would not include in your book, or are you quite open-minded about what happens to your characters along the way?
There are certain things I have chosen not to write about. Paedophilia isn't something I want to research. You know, it's not, because you couldn't write on that topic without being incredibly sensitive. You know, you're going to offend people if you don't. If you just blunder in without doing the proper research, then you're going to get it wrong. And by research, I obviously mean speaking to people who've endured it, looking at crime stats and all the rest of it. And that's not a place where I want to go. For me, writing should be a fun thing. Reading should be a fun thing. Other people can write those kind of books far better with much greater sensitivity than I can. So I'm not going to do it. I'll leave that to them, and good luck to them. It's also not a subject that I want to spend hours and days and months and weeks thinking about and having in my head. I also have a great terrorist plot idea that, like so many other authors I know with a great terrorist plot idea, I'll never write. It will never be written, just in case it is taken as inspiration. I do not want that on my conscience. So there are certain subjects that shy away for my own good, for aesthetic, technical reasons, sometimes just for the greater good. You know, nobody needs to hear me to see me writing a horrible, horrible book. So, yeah, it was a good question, though.
Good answer as well. Joe says, are your books available in audio format, and do you use the same narrator?
Yes, all three of the Grant Fletcher novels are available in audio. They all sound fantastic, although I must confess, very weird hearing someone else reading out words that you've written. You know, I'm sure you've had that from time to time as a teacher. You know, you'll write something, maybe get the kids to read it out or whatever, and it's just weird. It's just weird hearing someone else narrate, and especially when I read out loud, I don't think I'm a good reader. I'm a good narrator. I can't do the correct inflections and everything in my voice. So as much as it's weird hearing someone else do it, I'm jealous as well, because he can read my books better than I can.
I'm going to add to that, because a lot of our members like to buy like a signed copy from the author. Is that something that's possible from you?
Yeah, absolutely. Signed copies are available from me. Any one of the Grant Fletcher series is available. £10 UK package and posting included. For that, signed, dedicated. Though I'll warn everyone in advance right now, my handwriting is terrible. Absolutely terrible. I tend to use block capitals all the time so that people can stand a chance of reading what I've written.
I'm agreeing. My handwriting's terrible. I tell the kids that you have to fail a handwriting test to be a teacher.
Nice.
So far, they've believed me. Joe says, I don't know if you have much free time with your work and writing, but do you have any other hobbies or interests?
I enjoy reading, socialising with friends, watching football. Big supporter of Carlisle United. Yeah, I mean, just general stuff, you know, stuff most people do, you know. I would like to have a different skill and say, oh, I enjoy painting and so on. No, leave me with a book or a remote control, and I'm as happy as the next man.
Someone wants to know if you've been watching any of the crime dramas.
Good question. I don't tend to watch too many of them, especially the cop shows like The Bill and so on. I don't watch too many of them. I think there's always fear that you're going to get ideas, or you'll end up cloning something you've seen on the television too much, whereas for me, I can disassociate better with a book. I think, all right, yeah, I read that and such, no, I better not use that. Whereas with the TV, I mean, with the TV these days, we all fiddle with our phones and do other stuff as well as actually watch the television. So I think there's definitely some room for crossover there. Although I have been watching Line of Duty. I haven't watched this final series yet, saving that up, and then I'm going to binge the entire series. So that's what we'll be doing here, and looking forward to that. So if anyone tells us who H is, you may hear a scream in a Scottish accent.
Lucy says, when are you going for a beer with Mike and Matt? I think she's trying to invite herself along.
Well, I'm sure she'd be welcome to join us. I'm sure she'd be welcome to join us at some point. Yeah, going for a beer with Mike and Matt. Yeah, that's definitely on the to-do list once things get back to some kind of normality after all this COVID is by with.
I think pub kind of beer garden things are back on, aren't they?
They are, but again, the three of us live quite far apart, so it's sorting out the logistics. Obviously, with the hotel reopening properly on Sunday, and all the COVID bits and pieces, I'm going to be rather busy. And I have a book to write by July. So
right in wedding season as well.
Yeah, that's normal. That's life. That's just how it goes.
Joe wants to know if you can make a star appearance in one of your books, what role would you have?
If I could make one, I don't know. I don't know that I would properly put myself in as a fully named character. Certainly not a star appearance. I have appeared in one of my books in the past as a fat bald guy reading a battered paperback in the corner.
You should do like a Hitchcock kind of cameo appearance in all of them, so that people have to work out where you've hidden yourself.
It's possible that could be done, but Clive Cussler used to do that with his Dirk Pitt novels. And as much as I was a fan of the novels as I was reading them at the time, I cringed a little every time he did it. So the memories of that reading association when an author who I hugely enjoyed did it, giving me the cringes, it's not something I want to do. I don't want to give my reader them same cringes, or at least not for that reason.
You've got a UK CBC crew going for a beer with you now. Lucy says she's loved to, and Sam says pick her up on the way.
Yeah, that'll do. Are you joining us?
Yeah, but I am a bit of a lightweight when it comes to drinking. You don't probably want me.
Yeah.
I'm a kind of 1 or 2 drinks and then I'm done kind of girl.
It'll be fine. Everybody to their own.
Oh, hang on. I'm just going to make sure I haven't missed any. Sam thought it was great answer, Ari, the topics that you wouldn't touch. She says, does the outline stay true to the finished product?
Sometimes. There are always little bits of tweaks that happen along the way. Until you get into the guts, I suppose, of the novel, you don't know how it's going to hang on the skeleton. If that kind of makes any sense. Probably a really badly mixed metaphor. But sometimes I'll leave a note for my editor. I think this chapter and the one before should be swapped round, or, you know, this chapter's gone on way too long. Maybe it should be cut halfway through, or this would be a good point to break the chapter, or, you know, there's lots of little bits and pieces and tweaks to it. Sometimes the characters take over, you know, that they can very much take things in a different direction and inspire you to a far better idea than the one in the outline. and you've got to listen to your characters. You know, you've got to pay heed to what the story's telling you. So, yeah, the outline and the finished product are never a million miles away from each other, but it's very, very rare they're exact. So, yeah, good question.
Sam says she'll drink for both of us. So this is excellent. I can come now. Sam's going to drink for both of us. All sorted. My dad is a big fan of the Beth Young series.
Yeah.
Is that one that you'd be tempted to go back to and write anymore?
Oh, definitely. Beth's story isn't finished, it's merely paused. You know, and I do plan to go back to that one day time and other shiny new ideas permitting. You know, but again, as I said earlier, publishing is an industry. It's a commercial industry. Publishers have to make money off my books, otherwise they're not going to keep publishing them. So hopefully we'll be able to get a lot more books in the Beth Young series, but for the moment it's paused while I do the Grant Fletcher novels and these standalones. Never say never.
Excellent. Would you do a crossover with any of your characters where they meet or pass each other in a different book?
Oh, that's a very good question. Very good.
For tricky questions.
Well, it isn't tricky. It's something you kind of always want to hanker after, but it's how you would do it. Beth Young would be appalled at the way Fletcher kills people. You know, that would break her moral compass. You know, because it's on a totally different heading than Fletcher's. If Fletcher was to meet Boulder, they'd either sit around having a few beers and telling war stories, or there'd be an almighty fight. And I couldn't put two heroes of mine up against each other that way, because I couldn't have one of them win and I couldn't have one of them lose. So it's very hard to bring these different characters into the same universe and satisfy all of them and all of the expectations that readers have of that character without diminishing another character and readers' expectations of them. But yeah, like I said earlier, I do like a challenge, so never say never. But again, there's different things. Different books have been out by different publishers, so then you get into rights issues and everything. So things have to be done carefully and subtly.
Sam says she doesn't mean to be tricky. You're fascinating, so she's picking your brain.
Oh, that's fine. The tricky questions are always entertaining. And, you know, if I just spout off generic answers, it's probably not as entertaining for you guys. The sweat pouring off my head as I'm struggling to think of a correct answer. That's entertainment.
Joe wants to know how you'd like to be remembered in 100 years' time.
Fondly. I'm going to give you a one-word answer. I'd like to be remembered fondly. And people, oh yeah, he was a good guy.
Good answer. I'm sure Lucy, and we've all asked you this before, but give us your memorable moments as an author.
Oh, yeah, there are so many. Getting an email offering me a contract for my debut novel, launching that novel, sitting in my local Waterstones with a good friend and writing mentor Matt Hilton sat beside me. Snatched from Home being on stage, getting my first bestseller badge on Amazon, you know, meeting fans for the first time who weren't friends, they were strangers, and they were saying they loved my books. That's always a fantastic moment when someone you don't know, someone who's got no reason to be nice to you other than, you know, the politeness of being nice, tells you that they've loved your work. That means a lot. You know, getting quotes from peers, you know, writers I admire and everything, all that kind of thing. That's so many wonderful, wonderful moments and memories. And I'm still having them. The special offer cut price deal on Final Second that's running at the moment, excuse me, has seen Final Second get a bestseller tag in Australia and Canada. That has been the case since 8:30 when I found it yesterday morning. So we're now almost 36 hours that has had a bestseller tag in 2 different countries, you know, non-stop. Probably gone now, and I'm probably speaking out of 10. Probably won't hit the full 36 hours because life's like that, especially now I've gone and said it in a public forum. But yeah, it's still a fantastic moment. Opening a box of books when they come and seeing your book for the first time and having a good look through it, you know, making sure the typeset, and yeah, that smell of a new book, all there. It never gets old. None of it ever gets old. I still get the pub day nerves, jitters. Oh my God, what if this is a book where they found out that I can't write for tuppence, that I don't really know what I'm doing, I'm just making stuff up, hoping it's entertaining. You know, there's all that kind of thing goes on every time, and then the first reviews come in, yes, got it. Whew. It's not terrible. You know, so it's there. I'm hugely, hugely privileged to have had as many books published to still be published today, and the fact that I've got readers and fans, guys like you supporting me, the whole support from the UK CBC has been fantastic for years now, you know, and I thank you all. I thank everybody who's done that and supported me. So, yeah, brilliant stuff all round.
We've got a couple of minutes left. I'm going to read you some of the comments because they're really nice.
Sam
says, thank you so much for a brilliant interview. She gets to interview you next time and she's looking forward to it.
Yeah, no problem.
Joe thought your answer to his 100-year question was brilliant. Lucy says she'll always think of you fondly. Loves chatting with you. And Joe really enjoyed the interview as well.
Yeah. Well,
so, do you want to finish us off with a final reminder of your books?
Yeah. Oh, well, so 3 books in the Grant Fletcher series are First Shot, Final Second, and freshly out just yesterday is Third Kill. No prizes for guessing which order should be read in, clues in the name. Thank you very much to anyone and everyone who's taken the time out to watch this interview tonight. Good luck to you all for those who enter the various competitions. If the person who wins this one could be so kind as to have a name that's very easy for me to spell, it would be very much appreciated. But if not, I will use copy and paste. Thank you very much, Caroline. Been wonderful talking to you and answering these great questions from everybody. Thank you to all the guys and gals in UK CBC who do so much to support myself and so many of the other authors in there. You know, without you guys reading this, I would just be a typist who's not very good at typing. So thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us.